Welcome to the Speak by Design podcast, where we study personal style, message structure, and message strategy so you can become a consistently compelling force. Let's dig in. Great leaders make their words count. They don't use lots of descriptors and ly words being your adverbs. They stick to simple, clear language that can't be easily distorted or confused. They find sentences and phrases that are memorable to their listeners so that they are more likely to be quoted, more likely to be memorable. Essentially, they are making their messages memorizable. Great language does that. And you might be wondering, is this meaning that I only should use positive language? Absolutely not. Negative language is what creates the desire for change. And if you're motivating an audience to make new changes, you're going to need to explain to them that what we're doing today is not working, or that a new problem is emerging in the future, or that 10 years ago it was so much worse and we are making progress, but we need to continue on that path. We're not there yet. That negative language is usually toward the beginning of the message, not at the end. Why? Because if you end with negative language, you could risk overwhelming your audience to the point where they don't believe they can effect change, where they don't believe in themselves that they can turn the ship around. And that's where you want to be careful. So usually you position your negative language at the very beginning, or at least in the first third of the message, not in the last third. And the reason we need some negative language is because it creates desire for change, and also it balances the argument. If you only share positive language without any contrast, there's no degree of skepticism in the message, and it will sound insincere. It will sound like too much sunshine, and that's not realistic. Your audiences are too sophisticated for that. So let's go first examine the language that we want to be careful with, that negative language that creates the feelings of confusion, failure, being overwhelmed, even embarrassed, or ashamed. These are words like afraid. How many times have you heard a leader say, "Well, I'm afraid if we do this," when they say, "I'm afraid if we do this," which, by the way, you hear people say that conversationally all the time. That is introducing fear unnecessarily. If you want to use that more powerfully, you can say, "We know our customers are afraid of blank." But as soon as you say the word afraid, you are making your audience afraid. And even when you're speaking about it with different stakeholders that are not in the room, it is still affecting the climate of the space. Same with words like blame. We know who to blame. When the leader says that, it sounds like the leader is blaming other people and making excuses for things and not accountable. Even the word cornered, we were cornered. So now we don't have freedom or choice. We feel stifled. Or when the leader says, "This has been a crazy year," now we think the leader is overwhelmed and in a state of chaos. Or if the leader says, "We've had a crisis this year," or talks about the crisis in other countries. But the word crisis is a shock and awe term. It creates that feeling of worry very easily. Think about the emotional language like disappointed, or unfair, or overwhelmed, unreasonable, unaware. Those words make the whole audience feel overwhelmed and unaware and like something is unreasonable. Even when you use negative language like impossible, inadequate, and inefficient. Now, inefficient and inadequate, I think, are very powerful ways of talking about the current state to create desire for change. But if you had so many of these words in a row, it is too negative for the audience. Then you've got to balance it with more positive language. So, what does positive language sound like? Well, when you talk about collaboration, cooperating, things being effective, empowered, how you are listening and hearing people differently and being helpful and keeping an open mind, solving issues, being successful, being team players with one another, working together, creating valuable services and value in the market. So when you use words like that, it's almost charming your audience about what is possible and making them feel successful. One way you can prime people to behave more powerfully is to remind them of the smart decisions they've made, how popular they are, or the company is in the marketplace, how successful they've been in the past, and how high principled they are in doing the right thing, even if it doesn't help our bottom line. Like those are things you can tell your audience that helps make them feel like this big change is possible because they feel powerful. And you're doing that with your words, with careful word choice. What I find when we talk about mindset, often when you are reminded of those four beliefs, you are more able to easily find the right words. So let me remind you of the four beliefs. It's that you care about your audience. You even love your audience if you can get all the way to love. Second, that you believe you are the one. You are the leader they need. You are the one with the answer and the expertise and the path and the vision. You are the one. And that you believe that you are fighting to solve a serious problem for your consumer, for your end user. And you're going to make progress on that today. With these words exiting your mouth, you are making progress. So when you think that way, that confidently about yourself, it is much easier to speak more powerfully, to find the right words, and use the language of leadership. You can tell the language of leadership when you listen to a public company CEO move the financial markets with their words. And what are they talking about? They're talking about growth, change, how they face challenges, how they bring more life into their work, spirit, the dreams that they share as a company or the dreams they have for the market. They talk about positive outcomes, productivity, possibilities, potential, gaining more knowledge, having more success. They might talk about harmony, education, balance, achievement, transformation, creation, waking up, fulfilling, enriching, enhancing, solving, and turning things around. When you hear those words, you immediately associate them with someone in charge, someone who has vision, someone highly motivated and ambitious and caring and positive. And then you want to look at how they talk about what is happening now and what will happen in the future. So every one of these sentences, the leader speaks in language like this: we are, we will, we intend to, our goal is, we see, we imagine, we need, we recommend. Okay, and we recommend is probably the lightest weight of all of those. But those, let's fill in the blanks. So we are changing. We are the market leader. We will dominate the marketplace. We will help everyone. We intend to grow. Our goal is to double the business over the next 5 years. We see incredible opportunity for everyone here at the company. We imagine a world where problem X doesn't exist. We need to make the changes now. We recommend a new program. All right, so when you're speaking in we language, you're talking about actions, assertions, visions you have, that creates an aligned shared vision with your audience. And the way you do that is through your words. And it's not just the words out of your mouth, although the words out of your mouth are always more impactful than the words in an email. But all of this needs to be the same consistent type message that they're seeing in written form as well. And then you want to look at the language that gets in the way. And these are those habit phrases that we use without even knowing how much they diminish the weight of what we're saying. It's phrases like, I think, I believe, and I feel like. And a good test for yourself is to think about, let's say you're on a ship and the ship is sinking, and a person in charge says, I think we have enough life jackets for everyone. Well, that I think doesn't give people a lot of confidence, does it? We'd rather hear, we have life jackets for everyone. Or if the person said, I believe we have enough life jackets for everyone. Or I feel like we have enough life jackets for everyone. Or we kind of, sort of have enough life jackets for everyone. It seems like we have enough life jackets for everyone. Well, it appears like we have enough life jackets for everyone. Why is it so many professionals begin their sentences with I think, I believe, I feel like, or sort of, kind of, maybe, somewhat, it seems like, it appears like? I believe we do that because we're worried about hurting other people's feelings, that we're worried about being too strong, that we're concerned that we're going to come off as arrogant. Shatter those reservations. Try not to care what everybody else thinks. It's really none of your business because you're never going to know what they think. But by always softening your point of view, you're diminishing yourself and your impact. You're also introducing a degree of uncertainty and maybe even introducing fear. In that example of, I think we have enough life jackets for everyone, people will hear that and be afraid. We're not trying to create fear unnecessarily. Fear is a great motivator, but in that example, that's not the intention. Get rid of those habits we have in communication that are not serving us. Those are fillers. They are longer ramps into the idea than you need. Remove the ramps. There are also phrases like got it. When you say got it to someone else, you sound like an order taker, not a leader. When you say, you know, it sounds casual, more like a consultant than a leader. When you say like, just, so and so. And by so and so, I mean so, or overemphasizing and so, those are fillers. When you are impeccable with your language, you do not use those unnecessary words. Every word is needed. The next thing to check are your adverbs. These are words like possibly, probably, really, obviously, mostly, slightly, actually, potentially. All of those words are hedging language that makes you sound less certain. The one that really drives me nuts is obviously, because it sounds so arrogant. One way to start working on this is to check it in your writing. Before you send an email, scan quickly to look for all your ly words. Do you need them? Sometimes you do need an adverb. Sometimes these words are helping you appropriately give a caveat or hedge the idea. When you are speaking in a town hall, when you're speaking about vision or a plan, you do not need this language. And that's when we want to make sure you're being conscientious about the words you choose. There are also casual words that diminish the formality and significance of your idea. When the leader says cool, crazy, or stuff, that sounds imprecise and lazy to the listener. Because it's casual and relatable, it is friendly, but it is not raising the standard of performance. We should not be afraid of formality. Formality is the way you get attention, the way you elevate people's point of view to a higher level. And that is the leader's job, to elevate the point of view, to expand the point of view, to raise people above the standard of performance to a higher level of performance. And we dumb ourselves down by using cool, crazy stuff and other casual language. Look at your verb choice as well. Are you using weak verbs or verbs that sound action oriented? Action oriented verbs are words like inspire, innovate, even revolutionize, pioneer, unite, elevate, create, build, lead, shape, disrupt, drive, propel, launch. So look at your language. Can you use more active, bolder verbs? Those are not long words. Revolutionize was the longest of those. But practice these action-oriented verbs. Get them in your head so they're at the tip of your tongue when you're talking about change. Let's put these words into some sentences so you feel the impact of leadership language when it is said in a meaningful statement. So imagine I'm in front of my full company and I say, together, we are the ones who will pioneer a new era of innovation. So in there, the word together, we will was powerful. Pioneer is that action-oriented verb. And then a new era, new is a great word, a new era of innovation. Here's another one. Our mission is to leave a lasting legacy of positive impact. Listen to that alliteration, leaving a lasting legacy. Our mission, so that's also very mission, vision, values. That language is so important for the leader. Our mission is to leave a lasting legacy. How about we envision a future where every individual has quality education? We envision a future where every employee has limitless opportunities. So envisioning a future that's future-focused language and every employee having limitless opportunities, incredibly positive. These are great sentences to use at the end of your messages. And it's nice to have a handful of them ready to go so you know what you can say to end that meeting in a powerful way. Maybe you want to lean on a theme that you've been chanting through many of your town hall messages. It could be something like, don't forget the power of one. And that becomes a closing statement to your routine meetings for a while, for a season of change. And that does make you sound like a bumper sticker, but those bumper stickers are memorable. And I'll give you some other ideas. Maybe it's something like achieve the goal. Success is within our reach. Embrace the change. Let's lead the way. We will excel together. Let's have a lasting impact. Let's embrace these challenges fearlessly. When we practice this privately with people, sometimes they resist it and say, I don't talk this way. And I encourage you to challenge that voice inside you and say, I don't talk this way yet. Because in allowing yourself to maintain your casual, relatable language, You will blend in with everything else they're hearing. And the goal is to stand out with your words so that people hear you above all the other chatter. And it's not because this is self-serving that everyone should listen to you, but you're the one. You're the one with the ideas. You're the one with the plan. You're the one with the path forward, with the vision. They need to hear your idea above the others. This is how to get your idea heard, how to get it in its remarkable form so that people carry forward your idea when you are not in the room. That's the power of studying the language of leadership. Pay more attention to how great leaders speak and make this a study for yourself. We do an exercise sometimes where we put some beautiful words on a screen and we have half the audience able to see what's on the screen and the other half doesn't. And we have them pair up and they talk about what they're working on, but they're using all this aspirational, beautiful language. And then we ask the people who listen to the message how they feel. And it's emotional. They feel so positive. And it reinforces that we are affected by the words that we hear. The words are creating our realities at work. And you as a leader have a great responsibility. If garbage is coming out of your mouth, you can only blame yourself for the cultural dynamics around you because your words are proliferating that when your words could be doing something very different. So I encourage everyone, pay more attention to your words. Be very thoughtful with your language. Make every word count. Have a great day, everyone. If you are enjoying all of these lessons, but now you're hungering to turn all of this into skills and habits that make this work intuitive and natural so that you don't have to think about it, then you want to join Speak by Design University. That's our coaching program that gives you private coaching, group coaching with me, group training, self-paced learning, as well as exceptional networking with other people like you. This program is for managers and above, people whose careers are on fire and they're looking to hit their next level and they want to do that sooner rather than later. Check it out at speakbydesign.com/join. That's speakbydesign.com/join, and you can start with us at the 1st of next month. We hope to see you there.